Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about the Andromeda Strain, the 1971 film that was directed by Robert Wise, based on the Michael Crichton best-selling novel, and this was put out by Universal. So I should talk about Michael Crichton a little bit. So this was a huge bestseller a few years before the movie came out, and Crichton was a medical student, but was also writing novels at the same time, pulpy novels, and under different names. But this was the first novel that he wrote under his own name, which would establish his brand as a writer who would be able to write these techno thrillers, research, do research on a cutting edge topic, and then write a pot boiler novel around it. And the premise for this novel was a bacteria comes from a satellite from space and threatens the existence of humanity. So it's a techno thriller, but also one with in this case, technology is used to try to stop a contagion that could pose a grave threat to to humanity. Mentioned this directed by Robert Wise, who was a veteran of science fiction movies. Directed The Day the Earth Stood Still, the classic from the 1950s. Wise decided to cast mostly unknown actors for this film, and I think that really worked for it. They really wanted to go for a documentary feel, as if you were watching the suspense and the story happen in real time, and that was really a great approach to making this movie. So the movie is about four scientists who have to work at this top secret lab to figure out how to stop this bacteria from spreading. Okay, yeah, the four actors were Kate Reed. She's really good as the one female scientist, and it was a smart, I think, smart for the movie to include a female scientist. The character was male in the novel, but she's really good as the scientist. And Arthur Hill, who's sort of the leader of the group, leader of this project, designs top secret project to investigate viruses and germs and things like that. James Olsen plays the surgeon who was recruited, and then David Wayne plays another scientist. So, veteran actors, TV actors, theater actors, but I think it served the story well here. So the plot begins at this town, this desert town, very low population, and the military. There's a satellite that landed near this town, and the military goes to recover it, and they find that everyone in the town has died suddenly, and even the military personnel who stumbled upon the satellite died suddenly. So this activates Project Wildfire, which was started by the Arthur Hill character, Jeremy Stone, where this top secret lab in the Nevada desert, if a contagion, whether earthbound or spacebound, arrived, and the job was of these scientists to figure it out and stop it from becoming a pandemic, or even worse than a pandemic. There's a great sequence in the film where the two scientists go investigate the town in their protective suits, and this is very much like a detective story as well, I think, and that's one way to appreciate this movie, where they look at they investigate the town, all the people who died are still there, and they can kind of put together what happened when this satellite was discovered in this small town. Thankfully, it was a small town. If this had happened in a major metropolitan area, who knows what would have happened, but it works for the story. And then the team gathers at this lab, and really the first hour of the movie is the scientists preparing, because they have to sanitize themselves, become completely germ free as they go into deep. There's 5 levels to this lab, and they have to decontaminate themselves as they go through each level of this lab. Each level has a color palette to it as well, so which gives the film a great design. Douglas Trumbull did the effects for this film, and there was a lot of cutting edge technology used for this film, whether with robotics and use of computers. So it's a very high tech movie showing off the high tech as well. So there's a little bit of conflict among the scientists, but they generally get along okay. And once they finally get down to the 5th level, they're able to investigate the bacteria and try to stop it from spreading. And then there's 2 survivors from the town. There's an old drunk who survived and a young baby that survived. And they had to figure out why there were only 2 survivors from this germ. As I said, the effects are really good in the movie. The and this is a movie. It's We talk about hard science fiction. This is a really scientifically driven movie where a lot of the dialogue is technical for a science fiction movie, but it's a chance to see scientists at work as they reason and try to figure things out. So, and I know this has been recognized as one of the best overall movies about seeing scientists in action and how they try problem solving and all that. So the film is suspenseful in that way. This might put people off from the film just because it is a technical film and the pace of the movie is methodical. It takes a while for it to get going. There's a lot of setup, but at the same time, if you like the scientific dialogue and the as they try to figure out what's going on here. So in that sense, the movie really works well. What else do I say? There's a big theme of, this movie is in the early 70s, 1971. There is a lot of Cold War theme to this movie as well. The idea of, first of all, space, the fears that come with space travel and space programs, possibly contaminating the earth is one of the anxieties. I don't know if that was a big fear among the wider population of people with the space missions, but within higher ranks of government, I suppose it was a concern. But also Cold War science and how the competition for technology and a time when the country was really investing heavily in science and research. And in some ways, this movie's about the payoffs that come from a society that really invests in science and scientific research, which is 50 plus years later, we're in a much different place. Unfortunately, with how culture feels about science. Okay, although in the movie though, there is this criticism of science too. It's a very pro science movie, but there's also this theme of biological warfare, and possibly this wildfire project isn't necessarily designed for stopping germs, but to weaponize them. So that might get, conspiracy theorists going and things like that. But there is a little bit of, even among the scientists themselves, there's ethical conflicts about what the purpose of the lab is when it's revealed that the lead scientist may have a hidden agenda. So that is something the movie does do, and it does create some interesting drama in the movie among them about how science should be properly used. But at the same time, the movie is a real showcase for Cold War science and what it can do when a culture, invests in science and things like that. So there's a great theme there. There's also, of course, nuclear weapons do play a role where there is this idea that if a germ could get loose in the lab, that there is a nuclear device connected to it that will go off if need be. And then there's another plot thread with possibly using a nuclear weapon to destroy the town of Piedmont that was infected by the contagion. So there is the Cold War stuff there, but like I said, it's the movie's really well acted. It's really directed. I think if you're patient and if you're really interested in the story, you can go along with it. I mean, this was a one of those pandemic movies that would get cited a lot during the COVID pandemic, along with Outbreak, which is more of an action adventure story, and then the Soderbergh film Contagion, which is also takes a lot from Andromeda Strain in some ways, and I know there was a TV version of it, Andromeda Strain, done uh, some time ago. I know probably 10, 15 years ago, maybe that was made, but yeah, this film really stands up as a classic in this kind of subgenre of science fiction of the threat of a pandemic or a contagion. Yeah, 2008 there was a miniseries based on the book as well, which I've not seen. But I should mention the look of this movie is really great, and the music. This is one of the first movies to use an all electrical score where the composer used a computer to create the music. So there is this interesting inorganic use of sound throughout the movie that's used, which is really effective. I think I do even have the soundtrack around somewhere with with it, and yeah, yeah. So, and just the set design is impressive. You can really see the budget on display in the film and all that. So, yeah, Andromeda Strain, good movie. If you can get past the slower pace, but I like it. It's a worthwhile film. But thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.